Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Psyched ebook homepage. If you found this video that's right here in the middle, I'm just going to kind of go over this entire page with you, just so that you have a good idea of what you can find on it, where everything is, and so on. Hopefully that is a little bit helpful. So on the welcome page here, it's just a little blurb of welcoming you along with the video. I also want you to notice that up here at the top, there's a few different tabs. So you have the welcome page, which you're on, the chapters, there's some additional resources, exams, and then a little temporary gradebook. So the big things that you're going to be using on here are the chapters and exams, but there are a few other things too, so I want to make sure you're familiar with them. So once you've purchased and registered your book, this is the main textbook for the class, Psyched. There's also the little side book, the self-care and mindfulness book that you'll be using later in the class. But for the most part, this is the one that you'll be using the most heavily for your chapter reading and then for all of your exams. So really important that you have it registered to the correct section of the class that you're in, the CRN. So make sure that they match, otherwise your information won't line up with Canvas. I also want to point out that your grades on here sadly don't come over automatically to Canvas. So if you take an exam on here and you don't see your score in Canvas right away, don't panic. You can always find your grade right here where it says gradebook. And then once the deadline is passed, I will bring those scores over into Canvas. So just a couple of quick things to point out. Otherwise, as I said, the big things on here are the chapters and exams. So if you click on chapters, this will bring up a list of all the different chapters in our book. And each week we're covering a couple of chapters, depending on the number of weeks for your class. So if you click on any one of these, it will bring up that traditional chapter. So let's go with chapter 2. So if I click on chapter 2, Psychology is a Science, it'll bring up the outline, the objectives, the summary, and then it jumps right into the chapter. So these are just traditional chapters that you should be reading. Anything in bold is a core term or a key term that you'll find at the end. There's all sorts of stuff in here, hopefully related to pop culture. I have some little like interesting boxes that I put in here. I also have some apply it kind of boxes as well, where this is how you can use this in your life, things along those lines, right? And then as you get toward the end, and I'm scrolling through it quickly here, there's also a section on in pop culture, and then you'll find all of the key terms at the end. And I will point out that I did write this book. On the plus side, that allowed it to stay very affordable. The average intro psych book is like $200 to $300. This is way, way less. And also, hopefully, it's kind of fun and pop culture oriented. And you'll hear my voice a lot in it as I talk about my favorite things like football and food and so on. And again, finally, here at the bottom, you see in pop culture. I'll give you some examples of how you could see this in popular shows and movies and so on. There'll always be a Psyched with Setmire link. This is my YouTube channel where I made a video highlighting a particular topic covered in this chapter. And then an application, how can you use this in your life in some way? And then at the very, very end, all of the key terms for this chapter. So in a beautiful, ideal academic world, you should be reading these chapters as we go. Definitely at least skim them. They are here for you. It's important information. And again, this is the chapters link up here. There is a smaller link on additional resources. Since you're not taking this class with me in person, these might not be applicable, but there are some flashcards that might be helpful as you're studying for exams. There's a couple little test yourself activities, and then the things down here are more like if you were taking this in person with me, but they might be helpful, so I left them just in case you wanted to explore them. The other really big tab, as I mentioned, is the exams. So this is where you'll take all exams in the class, and this is linked to your individual account. You have your own account and gradebook based on your login. So the first one is that mandatory orientation quiz, which you're taking very, very early. And this one is allowing me to make sure that you've read the book, you've got everything purchased, registered, accessed, and you're ready to go. And you'll notice with each exam, you have instructions, and then when you're ready, you'll hit begin. And then when we get to the actual exams, so exams 1 through 4, it gives you some reminders about your timing and to save your answers and all of that. And then the actual like exam to begin your attempt. So the exams tab is a big one. All of your tests are going to be taken on here. I have links in Canvas, but all of them will actually be taken on this site, which I tend to refer to as the Psyched site or the ebook site, since it's our main book for the class. As I mentioned, one other thing you might find on here is the gradebook feature. Not a bad idea to make sure your scores are in there after you complete a component. But again, they don't come over the canvas automatically, so don't panic if you don't see it in there right away. But other than that, this is the main textbook Psyched. I hope you enjoy it and that it's kind of easy to navigate. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me by email. All right, thanks everyone.